So, first game is Ace Attorney, which we all know is going in the TGD row. Just a boring ass game. A lot of talking, clicking, reading, hardly any gameplay to speak of. I'll bring up my list on the side here so I can see what I wrote. Yeah, the music was decent, but the game is just nothing but talking. It's hardly, I mean, it's like investigative, narrative stuff, but super boring. Hard for me to even consider this any visual novel a game, to be honest. All right, Suikoden 5. Suikoden 5, I'm gonna put this. It's either top tier or great. I think I'm gonna put it in the great. All these games are really good. All the ones that I've played so far are really good. The inventory system is dog shit. It always has been. I don't know why they don't change it or update it in all 5 games that were on between PS1 and PS2. They just kept the same bad inventory system. The story wasn't as good as 1 and 2, but same great gameplay. 108 characters, a lot of viable combinations, and some of my favorite characters were in this game as well. Some new mechanics, formation mechanics, and the stat bonuses that you get from them is new to this game. That was quite unique, and I liked it a lot. So I'll put that in the great tier. It's almost top tier, but not quite. Let's see here. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. That's also going to go on great tier. This game was decent. I thought the combat was jank as fuck. Like when you swing your sword, you think you're hitting an enemy and it doesn't register. It looks like you hit them, but you actually didn't, and they end up hitting you. That was pretty frustrating. The combat, I think, in general was a little frustrating, but the puzzles were fantastic, as they always are in Zelda. The dungeons were well designed. All the puzzles. Some of the bosses were good. Some of them were bad. Were badly designed. Unfortunately, on my phone with you, but I'm on a VC on my phone at the same time. But I'm in a VC on my phone at the same time. Oh, okay. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of gadgets in Link to the Past. Super polished game, especially for Super Nintendo era. Very nice. All right, Ape Escape. That's going right in the mid category. This was one of the first games to utilize the DualShock controls, and it showed. The controls were really bad. Am I armed and dangerous? Are you talking to me or Render? Yo, what's up, Falcon? How you doing? We are doing a tier list of all the games that I beat this year. Yeah, sure. Take your time. Yeah, so Ape Escape, like I mentioned, the controls were really bad. I'm gonna go get a cake for my granny. There was some good things, like the soundtrack was really good. The level design was decent. But the camera it was so bad. The controls were bad. It's not, when you've played like future platformers that have better controls, this game feels terrible. Like it when compared to like more modern like 3D platforming games, this game feels awful to play compared to those. Like the controls have come a long way. They should make a remake for real. A remake would do this game a lot of help because a remake with better controls would help this game a lot. I would definitely agree with that. Thanks for lyrics to me. Definitely agree with that. All right, Batman. Happy New Year's Eve, by the way, Sky, and have a good New Year as well. Thank you, Sumi. You too. Appreciate you. This is going in the great tier. It's just a solid game all around. Good graphics, good combat. You really get the sense of being Batman and beating the shit out of people. The Arkham Asylum like level design was good. It was big and there was a lot of different parts. Obviously not as big as some of the later games, but this game came out in what, 2009, so pretty good. And obviously the voice acting really good. The story was decent. The only cons were that some of the buttons weren't as responsive during combat, leading to drop combos. And there's no mini map, which is tough because you do have to backtrack quite a bit in this game and sort of find your way to different parts of Arkham. And without a mini map, it just makes it a little bit more cumbersome to do so. All right, P3. This is tough. I want to say that because of purely based on the combat system, that this game belongs in the mid tier. I would put it below average, but the combat is really, really good. The dungeon diving is really good. I really enjoyed the Tartarus Tower and the combat and all that stuff. I thought that stuff was great. It was just that the talking was too much. It was way too much talking, way too much exposition and narrative and just going to school simulator, way too much of that shit. It really dragged the game down, and it's like something that if you don't, I mean, you don't have to do it, but if you don't, you miss out on some really strong personas and stuff like that, and it makes you weak. So it makes you weaker in battle. So if you don't do it, you're kind of putting yourself at a disadvantage in the combat. So I felt forced to do it, and I felt like it was just way too much. The social links, a lot of nonsense. I don't like it. Hey, she got a nice little dress on with some clouds and rainbows. Look at you, cutie. Which blouse? Oh, where'd we get that from? Oh. No, I took it down to the sink. All right. Yeah, so that's how I feel about P3. Like 10 out of 10 combat, fucking 2 out of 10 story, and not story, but like the social aspect of the game. It's way too much of the game. It's more than half of the game. It's just standing around talking to people, going to class. Way too much. All right. So we got, what do we got next? We got Clash of Heroes. All right, this game. I'm putting this in the great tier because this is actually a really good game. And that this is how I feel about it right now is that it belongs in the great tier because it's super unique, a unique sort of little strategy battle game, really cool battle system, unique character spells for each faction. The RNG was the main drawback from this game, and it felt like you were getting screwed by the RNG. But honestly, there's no other way to do this type of game without RNG. So it's hard for me to like, you know, take too many points off because of that, because it's like, how else do you do something like this where it's like you get units and, you know, each person gets random units to play, and like that's how the battles sort of play out. There's really no other way to do a system like that without RNG. So everyone at this point, but I've probably been abusing Hawkeye. His one shot is satisfying. You're scum. You've become the scum that you hated so much. All right, Kakarot, masterpiece. This is one of the best games I've ever played. It would have been a 10 out of 10 if not for the hyper armor that enemies spam. This game was so good. It had amazing retelling of the entire DBZ saga, and they condensed it into like 30 to 40 hours, and they did a great job of it. The combat felt nice. The storytelling was great. It was succinct. It was, the voice acting was all good. It was all there. It was all good. Appropriate pace. Huge open world. Tons of stuff to explore, to see, to fight, to collect. There's detailed skill trees, soul emblems, support abilities. There's so much stuff in this game, and it's all fun and engaging and just fantastic. Like I said, the literal only negative to this game was that the enemies spam the hyper armor, which is the red aura that appears around them, and they just become invulnerable to hits, and you have to either back up or try to dodge what they're about to do, and it breaks your combos, and that feels bad because they use it way too fucking much. But other than that, the combat felt good and was good. I love hearing armed and dangerous. Then he jumps into me and I kidnap him in the void. Recover while he doesn't. Wait, how do you kidnap him when he does that as Wolverine? Use your Wolverine dive? Yeah, but like, doesn't that just, you just carry them like a certain distance, right? What do you mean by kidnap them into the void? Then I claw and 180 after, so I recover while he falls into the void. Are you talking about like off the map? Oh, okay. All right, E6. This game was mid. Super simple combat, which is not a bad thing. That was probably that. It was fine. The combat was fine. 3 different weapons to use, different magical abilities. Good sense of getting stronger is when you level up, you get extreme, like you're very level dependent. Your strength. Wolverine is professional kidnapper. The amount of Groots I've kidnapped and wiped. Not many weapons or accessories to speak of in terms of an RPG. That was a bit of a letdown with Ys. Very limited combat system. You only get 3 moves, and the forced grinding was the worst part of this game. It was like you can't continue an area without grinding. You will literally do 0 damage to enemies if you're not at a certain level, which is stupid and does not reward player skill whatsoever. It just rewards time invested, which is, you know, that's bad. You need a balance between rewarding time invested and player skill. If I want to try to fight through the tougher areas at a lower level, just let me do it, and if I'm good enough, I can. Don't completely lock me out of it because you want me to grind. That's why this game is in mid tier, why it is where it is. No joke, there was a game where I was playing Hulk and 2 other people picked tank for next round, so I went Wolverine, still time DPS and kill somehow. Even though my whole gameplay was literally just staying away from opponent because I couldn't get in there. Because they're getting poked to death and weren't coming to us. Hmm. All right. Let's see. We got Hades. Underrated and kind of broken. All right, I put Hades in top tier. Very, very good game. It's the first roguelike I ever played, and it was a ton of fun. I didn't think that I would have as much fun as I did. The combat was fun. The control mechanics were perfect, perfectly polished. Tons of different kinds of builds to experiment with because you got several different weapons. They each play differently. They feel differently. You do sort of get permanently stronger with the I forget what the mirror, the mirror thing where you add you add like points and stuff in different categories, so it doesn't completely wipe you each time, but essentially, it's a fresh new run every time, but each run feels rewarding. Even so, Hades should be masterpiece. Honestly, it could. I could put it there, and I wouldn't even be mad. The only downside really to Hades was that the environments were obviously, because it's a roguelike, the environments got repetitive very quickly. And they do kind of sort of like do this modular style of like the what do they call it? Like when they generate the levels, it's sort of like they just take the modules and sort of randomly put them together to try to make it like a new level, but you end up seeing the same rooms over and over and over. Like I ended up platinuming this game and I knew every single room. All right. What's next? Stanley Parable. TGD. Yeah, super boring, basically a 3D visual novel. Had some okay graphics, I guess, but what a silly type of game where you like 19 endings. Like, what's the point of that? It's like finding the motivation to beat this game, to play through this game in its entirety 19 times. Couldn't imagine. Couldn't be me. Bayou Billy. I want to say that it's TGD, but honestly, just for the concepts that are in this game, I'm putting it below average. It was not a good game, but it had 3 different types of gameplay in this game. There was beat 'em up, racing, and even a light guns like shooting stages. Pretty impressive. Why'd you think I liked it? Because I platinumed it? Like I said, P3, like the combat is great. Like Persona's combat is really good, and the story was good. But the high school sim part of the game and the social links is boring as fuck, and it takes up way too much of the game. It's more than half the game is just talking and like going to classes, which is ridiculous. But the combat is sensational, so it's kind of like it's balanced out by like a really bad part of the game and then a really good part of the game. Puts it right in the middle. Yeah, Bayou Billy had some interesting innovations, let's say, in the game and in the gameplay and the concept of the game, but execution was poor. Even though it had 3 different types of like gameplays, they were all bad. This is a ranked list of every game that I beat this year, Punk. Every game that I beat in 2024. I guess I should update my title to make it more clear. All right. Next up, let's see. Jeanne d'Arc. I want to put this in Masterpiece, but man, is this a master? I don't know if it's a masterpiece, but it's definitely top tier. He's better than me. I still haven't beaten 2 games I'm playing. It's about to be 2025. Wait, seriously? You've been playing them all year? I beat 32 games this year, and they're all here. Yeah, I'm gonna put Jeanne d'Arc in top tier. The combat was sensational, just like 3 days ago. Had an excellent battle system. The skill stones and the fusions of the skill stones and creating different combinations, that was awesome. What's up, Speezo? How you doing, man? Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's, brother. The major con to Jeanne d'Arc was that the experience scales down drastically to prevent over leveling and becoming overpowered, which is stupid. Because who doesn't want to be overpowered in RPG, right? That was the main negative takeaway from this game. But everything else, great. Great story. It's like an alternate history retelling of obviously the French, heroine, Joan of Arc. Anime style cutscenes with voice acting, and like it was really good. Really good game. All right. Sailor Moon, another story. This is going in the great tier. Surprisingly good game. Just a pretty run-of-the-mill basic RPG, but solid combat system. You got 10 sailor soldiers that you can mix and match with different abilities. They have different like combo abilities. I hate games that scale enemies to you defeats the whole purpose of leveling. At this point, just make a regular difficulty. Yeah, like especially in RPGs, like scaling your gains down to a level to like a drastic level to where like even if you're beating the same enemy, you're getting less and less and less EXP. That's kind of stupid to me, and it goes against the heart of RPGs. Bayou Billy, below average. Did you play American version? It's a common mistake. Japanese version is much better. Well, obviously I played the American version. Yeah, that game was trash, bro. I mean, it wasn't trash. It was trash. But the only reason, Spiso, that it's not in the TCG category is because of the concepts and the sort of innovation in the gameplay that I saw in Bayou Billy. That was very impressive for a Nintendo game. Had 3 different types of gameplay. I thought it was very, very impressive. American is trash. Whoa. You watch your mouth, buddy. America. I'm with Freeland the Brave. But yeah, Sailor Moon had decent story. All types of different locations. Weird puzzles. The puzzles weren't great. The game does start off a little slow. Some of the enemies in the final chapter are super annoying. That can like give you all kinds of status effects and shit. And you guys know how I hate status effects. You're not wrong about the game. Okay, Secret of Mana. We beat Secret of Mana this year. And much to a lot of people's chagrin, this game is TGD. This game is going in the TGD category. This game is trash. The only positives from this game are the music and like the art style. The combat in this game is absolutely horrific. Like the combat is pure frustration. Like there's almost no fun in the combat. The companion AI is absolute dog shit. You're constantly trying to like get your companions unstuck from the environment because all the combat takes place within the environment of the maps. So overhyped. Dude, people love this game even today. Even today, man. Even today, people love this game. But like, it's just not good. It's just not a good game. It's just pure dog shit. Like I said, that you get there's times in combat where you just have like zero agency to even do anything. You just die. Like spells that lock you in place. Like you can't dodge magic. Like magic is 100% going to hit every time that an enemy does it on you. There's just nothing you can do about it. Unavoidable, which is ridiculous. The backtracking was really bad. The UI was so bad. Like you have to go through like 17 menus to cast spells and shit like that. Is TGD this game sick? No. Trash, garbage, dog shit. They're bandwagon nostalgia goggles. 100% agree, Spizo. Even Bloody, who added this game to my list, he kind of realized that it was nostalgia goggles that was like he remembers having fun. And I will say that like this game came out in 1993, in October of 1993, and it was multiplayer. It was a multiplayer RPG, which is pretty huge. So like I could imagine like in 1993 sitting around with like a couple friends on the Super Nintendo playing this game and having fun. You know what I mean? Because that's super like that's just unique. I had fun. I was so bored back then though. Early access. Make this so you guys can see it better. Hanger Tree with Stick was fun in 1993. Facts. 1993 was such a different time period. But like, aren't there any games, Render, even from your childhood, that you go back and you like were like, wow, this game actually is like trash, but you remember like having fun with it as a kid? There's got to be some games like that. VHS tapes were still cool. Yeah, so you know, it's like just one of those. I can see why people have such clouded nostalgia goggles for Secret of Mana, but for me, playing it in 2024, not a good time. Not a good time. All right, Horizon. I know this is gonna piss some people off. Below average. This game, the combat just felt bad. Fighting dinosaurs with a bow and arrow feels bad. There's no two ways to put it. We wanted the ARPG heroine shot from Zelda. We were desperately searching for next best ARPG, and in SNES, all ARPG were dog shit. It's tough to make a good action RPG. It really is. But yeah, Horizon, the combat was bad. It had good graphics, excellent graphics, actually. I played this on PC. Really good story, and I thought it was engaging, and I wanted to like see the story to its conclusion. But the world was empty. The fighting felt bad. Like I avoided every fight that I could possibly avoid because it's just the combat just felt like shit. The stealth sequences were bad. I don't know why they even put stealth in this game because they didn't design any of the areas to be very good to be stealthy on, and you're eventually forced into the awful combat. And like I said, the empty world just feels empty and lifeless. And yeah, I'm honestly fine with below average. I personally had no issue. I love the story and the scenery was nice, but the world and quests were not good. Exactly, I agree. I agree with everything you just said. F.E.A.R 2. This is a top tier game. This game was just great all around, like very polished first person shooter mechanics. The bullet time felt good. Albeit a little OP, but like it wasn't unfun at any point. It was just kind of one of those like turn your brain off and shoot everything in sight sort of games. The horror element was a little missing for me, but they did their best. You know, there's flickering lights and dark hallways and lots of blood and gore and stuff, and this bitch would pop up at unexpected times. But I thought it was great. The mech suit sequences were fucking dope as hell. They felt epic. I guess the only negatives were that the story was a little bit confusing and a little unexplained, especially if you didn't play the first one. There were some bugs and glitches that I encountered. One where I had to like reload my save because it didn't like load the level correctly, and I was just like stuck seeing parts of things that were like far away, like the walls weren't loaded in. But everything else about this game was very, very solid. Stanley Parable was dog shit. Feels smart for not buying it now. Chose look dumb. Stanley Parable was just like, yeah, dude. It's basically a visual novel. Like, I don't know what the point of that game is. It's just to walk around and like get different endings. Like, there's no combat to speak of. There's no puzzles really. Interactive slideshows is a good way to put it. You bought Hades? Hades is fantastic. Hades was almost in the masterpiece category. I ended up platinuming this game on PS5. Hades, very, very, very good game. Okay, let's see what's next. Metroid Prime Remastered. This game is a masterpiece. Metroid Prime Remastered is a masterpiece. This is the only literal negative from this game is that there's no fast travel system. With a fast travel system, this game would be perfect. But I still think it belongs in the masterpiece category because of how good everything else is. I bought Triangle Strategy 2 because you said it was good. Bro, I can't wait till you start playing that. I can't wait till you start playing that. It's such a good game. The one game I thought Stanley Parable was going to resemble was the Turing test. Never even heard of that. The Turing test. Metroid Prime was fun, had you know, all her different abilities. The exploration was really fun. The puzzle solving was great. The platforming was great. The graphics, they did an amazing job with the remaster, I thought. Combat is simple but fun. And obviously Samus is one of the best characters like ever. Like I said, the only negative was that there's no fast travel there, so you have to backtrack a lot through the level. So with a fast travel system, I think that this game would be perfect, but still belongs in the masterpiece category, in my opinion. Metroid Prime, I was sold the moment I saw the condensation on the face shield fully emerged from that scene. You talking about when it first came out on GameCube? It's a real test, I believe, but the game was well handled, in my opinion, at least at the time I played. Yeah, I remember that as well, Spizo. The graphics were like otherworldly at the time when it came out on GameCube first. That was like it was pretty much the best looking game like ever at the time. All right, Kirby's Return to Dream Deluxe masterpiece. Obviously, this is a perfect game. This game is classic Kirby gameplay with sensational graphics. You got all the abilities of his. This game feels like Kirby's Adventure from the NES, which was my favorite NES game. Just boosted, the graphics boosted, the abilities boosted, all that stuff. It all feels just like classic Kirby, just in perfect visual form. Is a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff to do in this game. A lot of collectibles. There's an epilogue story. You get 4-player drop in, drop out co-op. Tons of side content, mini games. Just an overall great game. You could play this game for 100 hours. Kirby's goated. No one can change my mind. Agreed. 100%. He's probably my favorite Nintendo character, Kirby. Probably my favorite Nintendo character, I think. All right. See. All right, Hotline Miami. I don't need to play the game slow. Kirby, I love the show. Kirby's always been good. He's even bigger in Japan. Everyone played the SNES titles. I remember I went to a Kirby cafe by the Tokyo Sky Tree, and I did see Kirby a lot when I was in Akihabara in a lot of the stores. Hotline Miami is below average. Hotline Miami, fantastic soundtrack, you know, great little concept, but the controls are bad. The controls are dog shit. Aiming is very hard on controller or mouse and keyboard. The lock-on mechanic just doesn't work. So the controls and sort of the janky level design is what brings this game down. It's a lot of frustration. Cool concept with better controls and maybe better level design, better lock-on mechanic. This would be a much better game. Like Mario level big. All right. Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I think, is in the great tier. Some really good stuff about this game. Top tier immersion. Like, you feel like it feels like a sort of an Uncharted experience in terms of the immersion. And it's definitely a game that keeps you on your toes. There were definitely a few oh shit moments in this game, like the moment with the what was it, like a cougar or a panther or something? No, it wasn't a panther. It was a leopard, I think. Up in the tree, like the way they just did that scene was fantastic, sensational. The graphics are good. The map design is good. The real main negatives to this game is that this doesn't feel like a Lara Croft. This doesn't feel like Lara Croft. This is like fucking the female John Wick. Like, you rack up hella body count. They sort of turned Tomb Raider, which originally was like a puzzle game, into like she's like Sam Fisher in Splinter Cell, basically. Like, that's the kind of the evolution of Lara Croft as a character and as those games. They kind of completely changed the way those games are. But, you know, it is what it is. It's fine. There was a little bit of jank with the controls, a few bugs, but I overall I had a fun time. The combat was nice. The puzzles were not good, but a decent game. Okay, Tomb Raider 1. I played that as well. That game was beaten on my stream. All right, Lufia 2. This I'm putting in top tier. I scored an 8. It's a top tier game because it has an excellent battle system, and the dungeon designs were fantastic. Fantastic dungeon designs with interesting puzzles, and you know, just like Zelda, you have to use several gadgets to navigate the dungeons and stuff. And I like the mechanic in the dungeons where when enemies move, you move, so you can strategically dodge battles. I like that. I've never played a game like that. In 1990s, it was easy 10 out of 10. It's a good game. It's a fantastic game. Good music. The negatives that I would say are that they rotate the characters a little bit too much. This is what Phantasy Star 4 suffered from, was that just a constant rotating cast of characters. I don't like when they do that in RPGs. I prefer to keep the same cast of characters for the majority of the game. The regular mobs are harder than the bosses, and one of the biggest drawbacks is the main character is trash for 95% of the game. He doesn't get good until the very end of the game when he becomes super OP. So it's like most RPGs, the main character is usually your strongest character. In this one, he was the weakest character for a large majority of the game. But like they had that whole like Pokemon side system where you could like capture monsters, the capsule monsters, and they could help you in battle. Great concept, except the capsule monsters are dumb as fuck and they're stupid in battle, so they don't really help you. Great concept though, and like super random that there was just an entire like an entire like monster taming like mechanic in that game. Super random. All right. Castlevania Order of Ecclesia. This game is mid. Yeah, this game was mid. The combat, first time I saw it, I bought it. I never saw it for sale. I bought first Lufia game for $20 at Toys R Us. Same day I bought Super Punch Out first day. Saw the Crunch Trigger advertisement on video display. Nice. Yeah, Order of Ecclesia was, to say the least, the controls are, it's mainly due to the DS and it just being on the tiny little gamepad. But I didn't like the combo mechanic where you have to alternate between, like, I think it was X and B. Or no, it was Y and B. You have to alternate between those two buttons, I believe, to combo. And depending on the weapon, you do it at, like, different speeds. I just didn't like that. Just let me spam a button. If you're going to have combo like that, just let me spam a button. Don't make me do that bullshit. The bosses were horrific. Most of them were really badly designed. And most of the enemies in that game are super annoying to fight. Like, I don't even have to get into some of them. I mean, we all remember the Medusa heads from Symphony of the Night. Those are here. There's a bunch of other and just annoying fucking enemies that, like, you're gonna take damage. Like, unless you just leave the map and go to the next room, like, you're going to take damage if you try and fight them. Leveling was slow. Super tedious. You know, you don't gain experience very fast. Some of the good stuff was that you get new glyphs to equip, which feels nice. You know, you different variety in the magical abilities that she can use. There's a couple bosses that are nice and well designed and challenging, but overall the game is pretty frustrating. I still put it in mid because Castlevanias are just on a baseline. They're like decent concepts for games in the Metroidvania style, but the gameplay did not hit. The bosses didn't hit. Some interesting stuff, some good characters. The story was okay, so it goes in the mid tier. I love Symphony of the Night, but could never get into the DS games. I tried. Phoenix Wright is amazing for real. It's amazingly bad. Correct. All right. Wild Arms 3. I think we all know where this is going. Straight to TGD. This game was so bad. This is one of the worst RPGs I've ever played. The only positives are the graphics. Had some nice cel-shaded graphics. A solid, like semi-solid combat system. And you do get, you know, a bunch of customization options with the abilities and whatnot, but yeah, scan on the world map. You got to scan to find every location, which was ridiculous. What is TGD? Trash, garbage, dog shit. Those are entertaining streams, though. You made it good. I appreciate you, Spizo. I tried my best. Yeah, too many. The encounter rate was too high because you have that little stupid meter where you can like avoid random encounters. All they did was just jack the encounter rate up to compensate, and it's like, what was the point of that? There's too many ambush attacks. Like, there's a high rate of ambush attacks. Like, probably more than half of your encounters are ambush attacks, and when you get ambushed, there's a chance that all of your characters or except for one, will be unavailable to fight for 3 entire rounds. So you're just there with one person. Ridiculous. No, I'm not doing a Marvel Rivals tier. I haven't played in like a couple weeks, so I don't even know what's good right now. Yeah, the horse riding mechanics were stupid. Bad story, bad characters. The only good character was Jet. They take away your agency as the player. A bunch of times there were mobs where my entire squad was paralyzed and there was nothing I could do about it, and I just died and game over because one random mob enemy paralyzed my entire team before I could do anything. You just bought the Dominus collection for Christmas? Nah, you too good though, Jeff. You've been playing PoE. All right, Hogwarts is next. All right, Hogwarts. Let's see. It's either great or top tier. If I'm being honest, it's one of these two. Let me talk about it first. So the world was fantastic. Like the world of Hogwarts was super detailed, amazingly detailed. You can tell that a lot of love went into like building and designing this world and the villages, and like I didn't realize how massive this game was. It's not just Hogwarts, it's like the surrounding areas and villages and stuff like that, and it was quite impressive. And you can fly around the whole place once you get your broom. It's pretty impressive what the size and detail of the world that they built. The combat was fun, strong mechanics, parrying, spells, all that stuff felt great. A lot of variety in spell options, different enemy types, some really good side stories that I thought were even better than the main story, because the main story was a little bit convoluted. Tons of lore and like stuff to discover for Potterheads. I don't really consider myself a Potterhead, but I am a Harry Potter fan. The cons were that the targeting system is not good. Targeting system sucks. It's on auto lock that just doesn't really work very well. And it had a super slow start. I mean, you didn't get to like anything exciting for like over 3 hours, any kind of combat or anything like that for over 3 hours. Once the game opens up, it becomes good though. So you know what? I'm putting this in top tier. I'm putting this in top tier. There's so much to enjoy about this game. Like so many good things about this game in comparison to the negatives, that I think it belongs in top tier. And just the size of the open world and how polished they made it and all the things that you can do in the game, I think it makes it belong in the top tier alone. Sick FF7 track slapper. Always. Always and forever. All right, let's see. I didn't even rate this game yet because this is the last game that we beat, which is Devil May Cry 3. Let me talk about it first. So Devil May Cry 3 was an okay game. The combat was decent. I felt like the controls and the camera were really bad. The camera is inverted and you cannot like switch it back. There's no option to switch it back. So it's permanent inverted, which is totally fucked. Mid kind of cool. It's peak. I do like that you have several different weapon options. You have the different stances or styles, and I like that there's guns, and I like that there's melees, and the melees all feel different and the guns all feel different. However, the camera and the combat are the camera is the final boss of the game. The camera's so bad. At one point during the Rudra boss, the Rudra whatever Igni and Rudra, my camera just literally looked at the ground. It just looked straight down, just at the ground, while the bosses are like coming at me, and I'm just getting fucked up because the camera just is jank as fuck. But I completely agree with Spizo. It's definitely a product of its time. I could see why this game was so loved at the time. I think it originally came out on PS2. So it's sort of one of the first sort of like beat 'em up hack and slashes that, you know, was of decent quality. But it's mid. This game is mid. People rave about the difficulty. I didn't find it particularly hard. The hardest thing about this game, like I mentioned, was the camera. The story is like, does this game even have a story? Like it might as well not even have a story. Cool character for sure. This is more like edgelord sort of like edgelord porn. Like this game, it's difficult on high difficulties. I just face palmed with that. That's literally all I could do is face palm. There were very few 3D games that were pure action in that era. Had its spot in that library. Fair enough. I mean, fucking any game is harder on harder difficulties. Yes. I'm not sure what that comment was meant to convey. To be fair, there's games that are easy on their hardest difficulty. There's also games that are extremely hard on the easiest difficulty, or games that don't have a difficulty but are extremely hard, like all the Souls games. Come home drunk, play Devil May Cry. Yeah, but I didn't even say that it was a negative. I just said that people said this game was hard, but it's not. Whereas like Souls is hard. There's no difficulty setting in Dark Souls. The game is just hard. It's just a hard game. Maybe because I played all the Souls games, this game just doesn't seem very bad by comparison. I also played this right after Trauma Center, which is the hardest game I've ever fucking played. Just saying why people say it usually. All right. Lost Odyssey is at least top tier. I want to kind of put it on Masterpiece, but does it belong in Masterpiece? It might. Lost Odyssey was a sensational game. The battle system is really good. Great characters, great story, great villain. There's a ton of skills to learn in that game, a ton. Some of them are redundant though, which is a little silly, but there's a bunch of skills that you can mix and match. Tons of accessories to collect, and a lot of the side content rewards you with extremely powerful stuff, which always feels nice in RPGs. The main drawbacks of this game is that the animations slow down the game like tremendously. Like getting into combat takes forever because you have to watch all four people slowly spawn in and like do their little intro animation and stuff. What else? There's too many status effects and there's no real clear way to tell what the hell you're inflicted with. And like I said, the amount of skills are, some of them are redundant. There's a ton of skills. It can be a little overwhelming, but honestly, I'm putting it in Masterpiece. The gameplay is just too goddamn good, man. The combat is just too good. The story is great. This is one of the better stories. It was one of the last greats. Dragon Quest VIII on PS2, straight into Blue Dragon, Lost Odyssey. Then I quit playing JRPGs for a long time. Yeah, like I played probably back in the day. This game came out in 2008. I played it back on 360, and I probably put in about 40 hours. I never actually finished it. And then this year we went back, we played it from start to finish. It was great. I really enjoyed the combat. I really wish they would make games like this. This is like pure RPG form, like with all the skills and abilities, the accessories, the weapons, the armor, all that shit. There's more about the accessories in this, but just great overall. Like a solid story, great main character, like an immortal who's walked the earth for a fucking 1,000 years. You don't know what's going on. It was great for being one of the 2 games to bring JRPG to widescreen HD. Was Star Ocean the other one? I remember Star Ocean 2 had that option. Not Star Ocean 2, Star Ocean 3 had that option on PS2 to do the widescreen thing. All right, Luigi's Mansion. Luigi's Mansion. And we played Star Ocean 1 and 2. I want to say this isn't great. This was I would say this game is great. Luigi finally getting the spotlight. A hot take? My hot take is probably Secret of Mana and Horizon Zero Dawn. Those are the 2 hottest takes. Maybe even Persona 3, I don't know. Upper tier mid? Yeah, I don't think it quite belongs in the mid tier. It's definitely not top tier, so it's going right into great. Yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn is probably my hottest take. Okay, it should be TGD. Yeah, but Luigi's Mansion, you know, just a fun little game. Nice graphics for a GameCube game. The controls worked well for this style of game. A very cool concept, you know, the whole Ghostbuster concept. The inverted aiming with no option to change was obviously a bummer. Some of the ghosts are like, they seem stronger than they should be, like just dragging you all over the room and stuff. And some of the major bosses are really badly designed, especially the final boss, badly designed. But overall, decent game. Completely agree, to be honest. All right, NFL Street. I scored this game a 4, and I think it belongs in the below average. There's just, the AI is complete bullshit. It gets to a point in NFL Street where the AI just straight up cheats in order to like stay in the game, and super fucking annoying. Like a player with max catch stat will drop 90% of the passes thrown to him like wide open. It's ridiculous. Fumbles happen too often. It's also impossible to get one if you do force a fumble. It's fun for just a few matches. That's about it. They improved this game greatly with later renditions, but the first game has just way too much jank, annoying mechanics, stupid AI that puts it below average. Nintendo is comfy. Luigi's Mansion is comfy. I agree with that. Ace Attorney when funny. I put Phoenix Wright song. There's another one now. Secret of Mana 2. Persona 2. Yeah, those Persona and Secret of Mana and Horizon. Ace Attorney, maybe. You know, that it's just a visual novel. It's just not my visual novels. Just aren't my thing, I guess. All right. Xenosaga 2. We all know where the Xenosaga 2 is going. Pop. Trash, garbage, dog shit. This game's really bad. One of the worst RPGs I've ever played. Just like the first game, super bad. Terrible game design, bad voice acting, awful combat system. This combat system is even worse than the first one, which is, that's saying something. Everybody praises the story of Xenosaga. I don't get it. It's super complex and convoluted. Just because a story is like, you know, complex doesn't mean that it's good. Like, a story can be complex, even deep, and still be bad. You know what I mean? Xenosaga streams are great. You made it funny. I tried. Appreciate you. I remember watching his turn reviews on G4. G4. Remember when they tried to bring it back G4, and then the hosts just hated on their audience, and the entire project died? It's a love franchise. You'd be surprised Xenosaga 2 is a masterpiece. Masterpiece of being horrible. Then a story can be simple, yet so efficient. Exactly. Like, sometimes less is more, man. It's just way too much going on in this story, and they don't really, especially if you don't remember the first game, you're not gonna know what the fuck is going on in this game. Just terrible. Just a terrible saga, terrible story, terrible gameplay. If this story was put into like a movie, that movie would be shitted on. Like, I don't understand why it's praised. Less is always more with writing. But yeah, this game sucks. I would highly recommend never to play it, even if you're a JRPG fan. Unless your goal is to play every JRPG on the face of the earth, I would avoid this game at all costs. Celeste, for example, is so deep, it's so simple, but you'll see for yourself whenever you play it. All right. Star Ocean till the end of time. This is tough, because this game might go in TGD as well. But it's better than Xenosaga. Excuse me. Celeste is good, 10 out of 10. I might replay soon. 10 out of 10, wow. It's on my list, Spizo, so I'll be playing it eventually. Okay, where am I putting this? Let's talk about it first. So, good graphics, good voice acting. I thought the story was great. Excellent story. I thought the characters were good. There's a robust item crafting system that, if you take advantage of it, makes you extremely OP. It's very hard to do it from just purely the game's explanation, but if you look up some shit online, you can break the game with the item crafting system. I also had good music. The dungeons, awful. The real-time combat was garbage. Now, to be fair, I didn't know that you could dodge until the final boss. And so I used to think that the player had no agency to avoid damage, but that's actually not true. So the majority of my experience with the game, I didn't know that you could dodge, which is, you know, it's preposterous, but because I played almost 38 hours of the game and just didn't know that you could dodge until the final boss. But a lot of the stuff is not explained in the game. Like, most of the shit in this game, you just have to figure it out on your own. But you are oftentimes like stun locked, even to death sometimes in the battle. The anti-attack aura was an awful mechanic. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking with that. Majority of the attack encounters are back attacks. More than 50% of the attacks are back attacks. And the items, they don't tell you what the items are until you buy it, which is ridiculous. But to be fair to the game, and with the fact that I didn't know you could dodge until the final boss, I'm going to put it in below average. Because I have a feeling that if I knew you could dodge, that there was some form of damage mitigation and player agency in the combat, that it would have felt a little less frustrating. Have you ever played any of these Xenoblade games? No, I have not. I have not, Punk. Only thing I hope is he won't use assist mode unless he actually is struggling or just wants to test the feature, because it does take a bit away from the game. I don't know what any of that means, but there's really no stipulations on how I play games. I play them how I want to. Okay, Trauma Center, Under the Knife, TGD. Moving on. Now this is the hardest game that I've ever played. The only positives to this game are the, I guess, innovative sort of touch controls. Play PoE 2 in 4 hours. You play them how you want to, but it is a recommendation which you can ignore, and I will. Thank you, though. Yeah, decent art, story panels, like an okay story, I guess, solid, innovative touch controls, but this game is just brutally hard, like for no reason. Trauma Center is just extremely difficult. Like playing this, like playing the missions is like, it's just torture. Like it's none of it is fun. It just seems like you're just like praying that you get through the level and get through the game. It's a very frustrating game. There's an insane amount of things happening on the screen. You have to be very, very fast with the stylus to keep up. The bosses are unfairly designed. Like challenging games are fine, but they're not. None of these bosses or even levels are well designed. Like designed to be fair but challenging. They're just designed to just be hard. Trauma Center needs an easy mode. I agree with that. Yeah, but we did end up beating this game. This is like one of the hardest games that I've ever played. Yes, it's the same game, Spizo. I think the Wii one was a remake of this game. This game is infinitely harder than the Wii one. The Wii game is like a kid's game compared to this, because you get all kinds of like... They made a lot of the mechanics much easier. It's a remake of this one. There's 2 of them, I think, on the Wii. One of them is a remake of Under the Knife. It was called... Let me see. It was called Second Opinion. It was called Trauma Center Second Opinion, and it's a remake of Under the Knife. We get into the interesting game. Well, this is probably going to be another polarizing opinion, but I am putting Super Mario RPG in the mid. This game's mid. The time mechanic was jank. It's not implemented well. The thing where you have to like hit the button during combat to like do more damage, it's not implemented well. It's jank as fuck. And if you aren't good at it early in the game, like the early parts of the game are very difficult. The platforming in the isometric view is absolute dog shit. TGD, I don't know why they thought platforming in this isometric view would be fun in any way, shape, or form. It's really, really bad. Certain enemies and boss mechanics are extremely stupid. The map navigation is bad. The story's forgettable. 95% of the skills in this game are completely worthless. There's like 1 or 2 skills that are actually useful. The rest of them are just completely worthless. It had some good music. The art style is interesting. The watercolor paint and all that stuff. The battle system is simple, and there's a few fun elements, and obviously the characters are the classic Nintendo characters, so they're all good. But overall, the gameplay is super mid. Yeah, just, you know, I think nostalgia goggles play a part here with this game for a lot of people. Product of its time, same sort of thing. People put this game up there in like masterpiece, and I don't see that. I just don't agree with that at all. Hottest take on the list? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Either this, P3, or Secret of Mana, I think would be the hottest take. Because people put Secret of Mana in Masterpiece, and I have it in all the way in the bottom. Crisis Core is a masterpiece. Did it take the entire year? I think I beat it in 74 hours, which is pretty quick considering. Rarely can you avoid enemies in Chrono Trigger, but yes, some encounters in Chrono Trigger can be avoided. See, I don't have an issue with random encounters whatsoever. As a mechanic, I don't mind it at all. I can see why people don't like it, and I can see why people prefer when you can see the enemies on the screen and avoid them. Like Lufia, for example. Lufia did it the best, by the way. Like, they did encounters the best because it's not just that you can see them on screen. They move when you move. So there's like a strategic puzzle aspect to avoiding encounters, which just adds like another layer. Pretty fast. So Crisis Core was, I mean, it's just a fantastic game. The materia system is perfect. There's tons of excellent accessories to find and equip. You get a real sense of getting stronger. Great story with the best characters ever in gaming from Final Fantasy VII. The combat is good. They made a lot of really good quality of life changes with the remake here, with like quick abilities and stuff like that. Great movement. The DMW is interesting. It's basically a slot machine summon mechanic. Gorgeous game. I mean, I think they did this game in Unreal Engine 5, and it's really, really beautiful. Pretty fast. Lufia 1 is random encounter hell. I love it. Just hit the fast forward button. Yeah, beautiful environments. All the locations are classic. You get Midgar, Banara, you know, etc. All the classic locations. The only downsides to this game are that the environments get a little bit repetitive because there's 300 missions and I did all of them. So obviously the environment, they reuse the same environments to do a lot of the missions. And there's some very annoying enemies. But again, I platinum this game, so I probably did more than the average person would and got frustrated more than the average person would because I played a lot of those stupid enemies. And let's say Rebirth, masterpiece. This was the game of the year in my opinion. I mean, just perfect all around. This is the best action RPG battle system that has ever been created. Even better than remake. You get the added synergy skills and abilities. It's an extra layer to an already sensational combat system. You get even more materia choices. The materia system, any game that has a materia system is just good. Like the materia system is just, it's just fantastic. Just a beautiful concept. I heard a lot of good of this game. Game of the year, in my opinion. That's what I voted for. You set 7 characters, multiple weapon choices and build styles, very deep skill tree for character customization, a massive open world. There's a staggering amount of content in this game. What's up, Bloody? Secret Man bought this garbage. I was actually telling them that like you were the one that added it to my list, and you're like, I don't remember it like being like this, because we were talking about nostalgia goggles. It was who I was thinking was going to win Game of the Year, although I played and finished Astrobot, and I get why it's Game of the Year. I didn't finish it, but I did hear so much about it that I understood why it won Game of the Year. But yeah, my top of the year. If I'm including my personal list games, it's got to be Rebirth. That was my game of the year. I'm just happy Wukong didn't win. If I'm not counting my personal list of games, then Kakarot is my game of the year for gamer picks, for viewer picks. All right, Jedi Survivor, I'm putting great. It's funny how Hades went from TGG to top tier 24 hours playing. I did move like this. Yeah, this is kind of like, this list is sort of based on like how I feel about the games now. Even after, I think I gave Hades what, like I originally gave it a 7, then I upgraded it to an 8. I ended up platinuming the game. It's a good game. It grew on me for sure. Most overrated piece of garbage ever. God damn, tell us how you really feel. Should have been a 9. Yeah, it definitely grew on me. This is one of the very few games that like really grew on me over time. Like it just got better and better over time. I think another game like this was Tales of Symphonia. That game grew on me a lot. Messaged me to help him in Dragon Force. It's probably my fault because he asked me for tips and I was like, I was like, Bloody helped me a lot, and then I told him about Mr. Gold, was it Goldark? Mr. Goldark? Dragon Force. Did I hate it at first? Some roguelikes, you're like, ugh, horrible game. Then you play some and you're like, yeah, but Jedi Survivor, like this was a good game, but it wasn't as good as Fallen Order. Great visuals, the best looking Star Wars game ever made, honestly. I mean, when you're like in Coruscant in the beginning of the game, it's like you're really there, man. It's very good, immersive, great story, characters, voice acting, excellent platforming, lots of fun, figuring out the puzzles and the platforming challenges, a lot of little things to discover. The combat needs some work. The combat didn't feel as good as the first game. There's several different stances. There's 5 different stances in this one, but they all feel pretty underwhelming. You can't cancel into dodges or parries without using one of the stances' special abilities, which feels really bad. And other than Coruscant, the planets are pretty boring and just not, I think they needed more variety in the planets. And this game would have felt a little better. And also they needed improvements in the combat. Nothing made sense and it was too hard. Then you got a hold of the basics and enjoyed it. Well, you know how I be. Reminds me of another game, the game of the year, this list, Trauma Center, absolute masterpiece. Okay, let's see. Metaphor. Metaphor also goes in great. If I played this on stream, Metaphor, it would probably be either mid or below, because there's a lot of talking in this game, just like Persona 3, but I skipped all of it because I'm not streaming it, so I just fucking skipped all of it. I skipped all of the talking and the bullshit, and I was still able to max out the social links and upgrade all of my classes. I like this battle system better than Persona. It's basically a class-based battle system, a job-based battle system where you can change classes. Wait, the game you put on Masterpiece was not Metaphor? Rebirth. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Yeah. Yeah, Metaphor, the battle system was great, excellent. Job system, class system, call them archetypes. Lots of different options, mix and match. You get inheritable skills, you create builds, create synergy with your team comp. You get the SMT style press turns. Great characters, decent story. The cons is there's just too much talking. Just like Persona, there's just way too much talking. Astonishing amount of dialogue, right? It's mind-boggling how much talking they put into these games. But like I said, I skipped 95% of it, so it didn't feel as bad as Persona. The graphics are not good. This looks like an Xbox 360 game or an Xbox One game, and the soundtrack is pretty weak. Other than that, I think it belongs here in the great tier. So, these are all the games that I beat this year. Adrian, got you.